For the second episode, I'm going with Crystal Radiance since it's like the second main skill that's more or less introduced for the 8th Duel Links anniversary. The next one will be Arm Dragon Crossover, but that skill I believe is old still, but it has still something to do with the 8th anniversary with the whole Arm Dragon Neos structure deck and whatnot. After that would be the Dragon Maid skill, but that's just some housekeeping before I move on to actual talking about the new skill, Crystal Radiance. Okay, now to get on with it. Crystal Radiance. You can only use this skill second and third effects once per duel. Its first effect reads, at the beginning of the duel, add 7 different Crystal Beast monsters to your deck. During this duel, you can add normal or special summon monsters except for Crystal Beasts and Ultimate Crystal monsters. It's good in special summons from your extra deck. Its second effect reads, send 2 Crystal Beast cards from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard. Then add 2 Crystal Spell and Trap cards from your deck to your hand. And send 2 Crystal Beast monsters from your deck to the graveyard. The third effect reads, if only your opponent controls a card, reveal 1 Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon in your hand, and set 1 Crystal Spell or Trap card from your deck to your field. This card can be activated at the same turn. Now that I've finished reading that, more or less, I'm gonna just go over more or less what the actual skill actually really means in the context of Crystal Beasts and how the game more or less wants you to use the skill. So I'm gonna start with the first effect, more or less. This effect more or less activates at the beginning of the duel. Like it says in the beginning of its card text, more or less when you start the duel, it's going to say Crystal Radiance, which means your opponent will be, you or your opponent will be locked into doing only be able to normal summon and special summon Crystal Beast and Ultimate Crystal Beast monsters from your main deck. While you can special summon monsters from your, special summon other types of monsters from your extra deck. Meaning that you can summon cards like Rainbow Neos, even though it's not an Ultimate Crystal or Crystal Beast monster. Because it's a monster that belongs in the extra deck, but you will need to be running Elemental Hero Neos and something like a Neos Fusion or some kind of Polymerization in order to actually be able to summon him. Let's go summon this guy, Rainbow Neos. You can also go to generic Link summons with Proxy Dragon, Deco Talker or whatever, or even the Tri-Brigade monster since you're playing Beast monsters and things of that sort. But that's just alternate things you can do. But the skill itself mostly wants you to be doing Crystal Beast things, but there's just some other stuff you can do on the side while also doing your main Crystal Beast plays. As far as the add 7 different Crystal Beast monsters to your deck, it doesn't specify what Crystal Beast monsters are added to your deck, but what it really means is it's going to add the main 7 Crystal Beast cards, not the new Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, so you will only be able to have a max number of 3 copies of this guy in your deck. With this skill, your deck capacity has an upper limit of 37. Except for the usual 30, because of these 7 cards will be added to your deck, and you can have a maximum of 4 copies of each of these guys in your deck. I'm not going to go over the main Crystal Beast strategy and then or what they actually do, because that seems like a video to do for another time. But if you already know what Crystal Beasts do, these guys more or less set up the plays for Rainbow Dragon, Rainbow Dark Dragon. Well, to a less degree, Rainbow Dark Dragon just needs dark monsters, but it also works with Crystal Beast things with things like Advanced Dark. But that's something to go into later. And that's more or less the first effect, and what's it all really specifying in the parameters that it's setting up. The second effect is send 2 Crystal Beast cards from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard. Then add 2 Crystal Beast spell trap cards to your deck to your hand. I'm just gonna talk about this first part, then talk about the... well, I think I should just talk about the send 2 Crystal Beast cards from your hand or face up the field to graveyard first, then I'll talk about this latter part later on. Second. So, it more or less wants you to either like use, from what that really is really talking about, you need to send 2 Crystal Beasts, like 2 of these guys, because need to specify 2 of either these 8 cards from either your hand or face up on the field from your main monster zones or your spell card zones, because it says Crystal Beast cards because they technically aren't monsters when they are on the field. They technically aren't monsters when you're inside their spell and trap zone as continuous spell cards. So they have to specify that instead of saying monsters in general, they just say cards. But the main way they want you to be sending those guys to the graveyard is usually by the new spell card, the new equipped spell card, Golden Rule, because this card places 2 Crystal Beast monsters from your deck face up on your field and special summons a Crystal Beast card from your deck, well, not deck, special summon a Crystal Beast card from your hand or graveyard in order to activate. So most days of the week you're going to be special summoning the Crystal Beast monster from your hand and then placing 2 Crystal Beasts from your deck into your spell and trap card zones, then sending those 2 cards from your spell and trap card zones to the graveyard in order to activate the skill. And then getting 2 crystal spell trap cards to your hand via this effect. An alternative way to do that is using the Sapphire Pegasus to normal summon or special summon it onto the field, and sending both cards you just normal or special summoned. Well, I have to explain Pegasus. Pegasus, when summoned, either normal or special, places a Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard on the field, well, on your spell or trap card zone as a continuous spell card. Which means that when he hits the field, you can put any one of these 8 cards in your spell or trap card zone. So with Crystal Radiance's second effect, you can send Sapphire Pegasus and the cards you just put inside your spell or trap card zone to the graveyard in order to activate the second effect and get 2 crystal spell and trap cards from your deck. And that's more or less the main 2 ways you're going to be getting this second effect off most days of the week. You can do it alternative ways, but those are the most easiest starters, the easiest ways to do it. When it comes to adding 2 crystal spell and trap cards to your hand from your deck, you usually, from what I've seen, but playtesting with this skill, it usually wants you to be getting Crystal Bond. It's a one-of inside of Duel Links because you can only get it from Jeese Anderson's level up, like I think it's like level 45. But you can only get it as a one-of, and it more or less just adds any Crystal Beast from your deck to your hand. It's just a searcher. And it places a Crystal Beast monster with a different name from that card in your spell or trap zone. So you're usually, with that effect, if you do not have Rainbow Dragon in your hand, you usually are going to be grabbing one of these 7 and then placing Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon inside your spell or trap zone, using Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon's banish effect as when it's a continuous spell, placed on the field by Crystal Dawn, you will be getting a Crystal Beast monster from your deck, placing it on the field, placing from your Crystal Beast monster from your deck, placing it inside of one of your main monster zones, banishing this guy, and adding a Rainbow Dragon to your hand in order to be able to special summon them later on that turn. And you can get a second Crystal Spell or Trap card while doing all of this. This last effect just allows you to easily set up the conditions for summoning Rainbow Dragon. The whole send 2 Crystal Beast monsters from your deck to the graveyard that weren't on the field to begin with. It just more or less, this whole effect just allows you to get 4 different names into the graveyard without much cost, while the whole add 2 crystal spell trap cards can allow you to get the other 3 into the graveyard and also get Rainbow Dragon into the hand, so you can special summon it and go for a OTK more or less. This third effect is more or less like a comeback play sort of situation, in which it's kind of hard to get off if you go first. So it's like more of a go second sort of a deal if you're trying to attack into an opponent's board, or like if your OTK with the whole second effect doesn't really pan out and you're still alive somehow and you have a Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon in your hand, or you search it somehow, you can. It says, reveal 1 Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon in your hand and set 1 Crystal Spell or Trap card from your deck. This card can be activated the same turn. It's like a lot of days of the week you're probably going to go for Crystal Conclave, or I guess you can go Crystal Slicer, but that's only if your opponent is really wide open to taking lethal amount of damage, because it also allows them to draw a card. You really have to go straight for the jugular with this one. Regeki can be useful, but you also have to have a Crystal Beast card inside your spell trap zone for it to be useful more when you set it with the third effect. Conclave would probably be the best thing to go with, but the whole third effect is just like a going sect, makes going second way better for the deck, instead for having to do the deal. I'm around one. Oh man. I'm just gonna talk about some other like Crystal Beast cards that can also be played in the deck that aren't necessarily crystal cards. Actually, I forgot to talk about that, didn't I? The actual crystal cards that you can search out with the second effect. Because I rambled about too much about what they want you to do with the second effect, instead of actually telling you what cards can be searched with the second effect. But add 2 crystal spell trap cards with this to your hand. Cards that can be added is what I talked about earlier: Crystal Bone, Golden Rule. Even though it's not called a crystal card, it's always treated as a crystal card, so it can be added to your hand via the effect. Crystal Promise, which is just a special summon if you have a Crystal Beast card inside of your spell trap zone. Crystal Beacon, which just puts Crystal Beast cards inside your spell trap zones. Well, 2 of them in your spell trap zone, so... Well, I'm thinking about Crystal Blessing, which does that. Okay. Crystal Blessing puts 2 Crystal Beast monsters in your graveyard inside your spell trap zones, while Crystal Beacon special summons a Crystal Beast monster from your deck. If you have 2 or more Crystal Beast monsters in your spell trap zone, it means 2 actually, because in Duel Links we don't have 3 spell trap zones, so you can't really extend further than 2 Crystal Beast monsters in your spell trap zones, because you have 3, you can't really play any spell trap cards. Which is kind of a problem inside of playing Crystal Beast and Duel Links to begin with. Crystal Release was just an equipped spell that also gives you some advantage when it's destroyed. There is Crystal Tree, which is it's not bad, but it's just really slow. You say place 1 crystal counter on this card. You can send this card to the graveyard. Take a number of Crystal Beast monsters from your deck equal to the number of crystal counters that were on this card. Then place those monsters face up in your spell trap zone as continuous spell cards. So it's saying that, like, if you have, let's say you use something like Sapphire Pegasus to normal summon while this guy is face up on the field, it gets 1 crystal counter. It gets 1 crystal counter on it. You can send it to the graveyard, this card to the graveyard, place another Crystal Beast monster inside your spell trap zone, while you also have a Crystal Beast monster that was set by Sapphire Pegasus on summon effect, which gives you 2 Crystal Beast monsters in your spell trap zone. Which is, I guess, okay, but it's just like a 1-for-1 kind of deal. You can go 1 for 2, but at that point you'll have your spell trap card zones filled up with monsters, which means you can't really extend further with your other crystal and non-crystal spell trap cards. You can also search out Crystal Conclave with the second effect, which is a bounce, which allows you to more or less get certain monsters off the field, either your monsters or your opponent's monsters, without destroying them, which is also pretty good. Oh yeah, I forgot. It also has a effect that allows you to special summon a Crystal Beast monster from your deck when 1 is destroyed. I already talked about Crystal Slicer and Crystal Regeki. And Crystal Pair I have not talked about yet. When a Crystal Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, place 1 Crystal Beast monster from your deck face up in your spell trap card zone as a continuous spell card. Then you take no battle damage for the rest of the turn. It's more or less a stalling card more than anything. But it is not really useful for what this whole skill is trying to set up at all. It might be a different skill or like a different deck that wants to use this card. But I guess if you're trying to just stall out your opponent, it might be useful. As far as Violet Crystal go, you cannot search this card. I just bring it up because it's called Violet Crystal, but even though it's a crystal card, it cannot be searched by the second effect of Crystal Radiance. And the last card I want to talk about is, well, last 2 cards. I think I talked about Rainbow Bridge, but Rainbow Bridge is just another searcher for crystal spell trap cards. The ones I just mentioned, these cards I just mentioned more or less. That doesn't require you to use a skill to get to them. Wow. The last card I want to really talk about is Counter Gem. The only reason I talk about Counter Gem is that it sends all cards in your spell trap cards to the graveyard. Place as many Crystal Beast monsters as possible from your graveyard in your spell trap zones, face up as continuous spell cards. During end phase, destroy all face up Crystal Beast cards you control. The main reason I want to talk about this card is mostly just as an alternative way to get to activate your third effect for Crystal Radiance, since you need to control no cards in order to be able to actually use it. So if you have this card in your hand or a way to get to it easily, and you have counter gem set, you want to go for some form of Hail Mary on the following turn, you can just counter gem, send all. You can just counter gem, send. Counter gem, destroy all face-up Crystal Beast cards you control. And then activate the third effect. Set a Crystal Beast spell trap card by revealing Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, and then do whatever you need to do afterwards. But that's more or less it as far as the parameters of the skill. For the last part of this video, I was just going to show a replay from just a random duel that I did to show off what the skill more or less wants you to do with the deck. Not deck. The skill wants you to do with the Crystal Beast cards, as far as the standard summon Rainbow Dragon, do a lot of damage, spend your opponent's cards, no TK your opponent, in OTK. So, as you can see, well, if I can go back though, it'd been better. But before this whole situation happened, I summoned. I wish I had a way to go back. Because it went too fast. Well, let's start over again. I'm going to try and go by play by play. Yeah, okay. So, no, stop it. So the skill activated it on the first when the duel began, which means I cannot normal summon or special summon anything outside of Crystal Beasts and Ultimate Crystal monsters from my main deck. So I opened up 2 golden rules in my opening hand. Well, I opened up 2 golden rules and the Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. So in order to get the whole play set up, I needed to special summon this guy via the golden rule and set 2 spell trap cards inside of my, well, but put 2 Crystal Beast monsters on the field as continuous spell cards. Like I did right there. Now they're on the field. Now they have 3 Crystal Beast cards on the field. I can activate Crystal Radiance's second effect to send 2 to the graveyard in order to draw 2 Crystal Beast, well, Crystal spell trap cards. I add Crystal Bond and Crystal Promise to my hand. I activate Crystal Bond to add the Sapphire Pegasus, and I put Artemis Cat into the spell trap zone. I activate Rare Value to try and draw 2 more cards, because, you know, I need to get rid of something from my spell trap cards anyways, so it doesn't get too clogged. If I summoned Sapphire Pegasus immediately. Then I summoned Sapphire Pegasus to put another Crystal Beast into my spell trap zone. I put the Rainbow Dragon into my spell trap zone. Summon out the Cobalt Eagle, and then I'm going to add Rainbow Dragon to my hand from my deck. And then I forgot. This right here was in fact a misplay, because I did not realize that you have 8 different Crystal Beast monsters with different names inside of your field and or graveyard. You can't summon Rainbow Dragon because its effect says, because Rainbow Dragon's effect. Rainbow Dragon's effect says you must have 7 Crystal Beast cards with different names in your field or graveyard. So if you have 8 of them, he cannot be special summoned via his special summon effect. So I was more or less locked out of summoning them, so I had to wait a turn in order to do something else. I had to wait a turn in order to actually figure out a way to put them onto the field. It's just something that I figured out while playing this version of the deck. So I just summoned the Mammoth to get him off my spell trap card zones. This is just a random NPC duelist, so it doesn't really matter. They can't really do much, so yeah. So I just tribute those two off, so I can special summon the Cobalt Eagle again. Then use Cobalt Eagle's effect to send them back to the deck, so I can summon the Rainbow Dragon. And because now I have seven different Crystal Beast cards in play, which means I can summon the Rainbow Dragon now. Then I tribute off the Rainbow Dragon to go for the Rainbow Over Dragon. And since he's able to be special summoned via its own special summon effect from the extra deck, it's a fusion summoning him via his own fusion summon requirements. After that, I decided to go for the Overdrive Dragon because I could, mainly. Because I met the conditions of having a Crystal Beast monster, an Ultimate Crystal monster in play, and 7 Crystal Beast monsters in the field and or graveyard in order to banish and special summon from the extra deck. And I just OTK my opponent. I could have finished that duel a turn earlier, but I just wanted to attack in with the 11,000 attack points instead of spending all of their monsters to the field and special summoning the Crystal Beast monsters via Overdragon's second effect. Last effect, I mean, because I think it has 3 effects. But that's more or less what this deck really wants you to do. There's other options of which... Oh, this is the alternate version of the deck that I was playing in order to more or less have a more consistent version of... Yeah, you can think of it more like a Rainbow Dragon OTK Turbo sort of situation with this variant of the things I was doing. I think this is the one I was... No. Come here. No, not that. This. And this is more or less what I was going on about with the... This version is not really a deck. This is just me just going over the options of the things you could do. But, yeah. I guess if I would say anything else you can do with this skill and the decks you can make with it, maybe you can make like a Rainbow Dark Dragon version of it with Advanced Dark. But the only problem with going that route is that you need to find a way to get rid of the Advanced Dark at some point if you want to use the Crystal Radiance third effect in order to... because you need to control no cards at all in order for the third effect to go off. But like I said in the previous Draconic Contact video, you can always just kind of summon Rainbow Dark Dragon, and it doesn't have really as stringent special summon effect, special summon requirements as a normal Rainbow Dragon. You just need to banish 7 dark monsters with different names from your graveyard. So, while you saw in the previous video where I got caught up by having 8 different Crystal Beasts inside of play, 8 different Crystal Beasts in play, but Rainbow Dark Dragon, you just need to have those monsters in the graveyard in order to banish and special summon it. And if you have any other Crystal Beast monsters in play, you can just banish it to increase the power of Rainbow Dark Dragon. But Yeah, that's what I was going on for. You'll need to find a way to get rid of this card right here, in order to go for the third effect, just in case something bad happens. I was thinking maybe you can use Crystal Regeki or something to get rid of that card, pop it off the field, and then go for the third effect, but it only targets your opponent's card, so yeah. Another option you can go for inside the deck is, where is it at? This. Overfusion. Is Overfusion, which is Overfusion. Overfusion and super polymerization, because you for the most part only need to have can you actually do this in this version of the deck though? Because with Overfusion you can more or less target any card on the field and give it the name of a ultimate crystal monster, level 10 ultimate crystal monster, whether it's your card or your opponent's card. Well, you can't put it into the graveyard because you can't put Elemental Hero Neos on the field. But I do wonder, can you actually get this requirement, because you do need Neos on the field in order to go for Rainbow Neos. Well, you can probably go for this plan inside of Draconic Contact, but Crystal Beast, it might not be possible. I'm just probably rambling off too long at the end. Anybody else still watching this probably could have logged off like 5 minutes ago. I'm just contemplating something at this point. I don't know. To anyone still watching, I'll say have a nice day. Johnny.